protecting your children from you. Now that's a strange title, isn't it? What does it mean when we say protecting your children from you? When we think about protecting children, the first thing we think about is keeping children out of harm's way. And we think about keeping them away from strangers because strangers could potentially harm or hurt your children. So are we therefore saying that you could potentially harm or hurt your child or children? Well, of course it's possible. Children can be harmed or hurt physically, mentally, verbally, emotionally, or sexually. Now, of course, that's not your intention. You don't set out to hurt your children. So how is it possible that you can hurt your children? Well, think about yourself. We as adults are the result of everything we've experienced as children. We are the result of all the programming, of everything that happened to us, did or didn't do to us when we were children. So, how do children learn? 3 ways. Number 1, children watch and they automatically copy what they see. They don't even know they're doing it. Second, children listen and they accept as truth what they hear from their parents. Third, children have specific, intensely emotional experiences and they form conclusions. So again, the question is, well, Patrick, how does that affect or impact me as a parent? Everything that you do affects and impacts your child. You can affect your child, you can influence your child, or you can even infect your child. So, what does that really mean? Your children are watching you and they're copying you. Your children are hearing what you say and they're accepting it as truth. And then they're making conclusions based on things you do or don't do. Whether you are gentle and patient with them or whether you get angry and frustrated with them. Even just giving them the silent treatment can have an effect on them. But again, we're speaking specifically about being a parent of what you might do to your child that will really have a negative effect on him or her for almost all of their life. If you're a single parent, the problems and the potential harm becomes further complicated, exaggerated, and even exacerbated. Why? There's a lot more pressure on you. And if you are a single parent, then you're trying to fulfill 2 roles. The role of mother and the role of father. Even if there is a second parent in the picture, but if you are primarily the caretaker, the caregiver, the single parent for your child, there's a lot more pressure. So let's look at some of these areas. What's the first mistake that all parents make, as well as single parents? Trying to make friends with the child. That means when you try to make your child your best friend, and you say, Patrick, what's wrong with me trying to be best friends with my child? Well, it doesn't work because you're meant to be a guide, a protector, a provider, or a nurturer for your child. But you can't offer discipline, guidance, and rules and sets of laws if you're trying to get your child's approval. If you set out to get your child to like you, to approve of you, to be friends with you, you can't set the boundaries. And then suddenly when you do lay out the laws, or you offer discipline or punishment, your child then responds by rebelling against you, and in turn, you feel, oh, my child's resenting me, or my child's rejecting me, and then you take it as personal. So, number 1, you can't be your child's best friend. Your role as a parent is to help your child to realize his or her full potential. And you can't do that when you try to hang out, be best buddies, be companions, or even be with your child. So number 1, don't try to be best friends with your child. The second thing is be aware if you as a parent are trying to get your child to become your emotional source or your emotional outlet. That means, are you expecting your child to make up for what you're not getting from either your partner, your husband, or even your ex? If you're a parent and there's no romantic partner in your life, do you look at your child, your son, and say, you're the man of the house? Well, no, he's not. Because your little boy is one thing. He's your son. And you have to let him understand that he is that. He's a little boy. So it's really important to distinguish your role and the child's role. If you don't, your child starts to identify with you, and it's very easy to create what we call emotional incest. That means that your child starts to feel that he or she is responsible for your emotional well-being and your emotional happiness. And that's very common. Now, having said that, children will also try and do something else. They will actually try to make you happy when they see you being unhappy, down, or depressed. Why? Children automatically believe that they're the center of the universe. When they see you and they say, "Oh, mummy or daddy's happy," they think, "That's because of me." When they see you being unhappy, they also think, "That's because of me." So children automatically tend to feel guilty or responsible for the way you react or respond to them. So you ask, "Patrick, what's the solution?" Reassure your children that whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're going through, whether it's financial hardships or emotional hardships, that has nothing to do with them. If you and your partner have separated or you're now divorced, you've gone separate ways, reassure your child, no matter what age they are, and over many times on repeated occasions, that it's not their fault and that you didn't separate with your husband or your wife because of something that the child did. See, when parents split and when they separate or when they divorce, a child automatically says, "My mummy and daddy are arguing, or my mummy and daddy have split up, and it must be because of me. There must be something wrong with me." So you have to continually reassure them and validate them and say, "Look, you know, your daddy and I, your mummy and I have gone separate ways, and it's not because of you. We both still love you just as much as we did before." So it's really important to understand that your child is not responsible for your moods or even for your financial hardships. So let's just go over those three key points again. Number one, child's best friend. You're meant to help your child to realize his or her full potential. Second, don't let him or her become your source of emotional support. Don't let him or her become an outlet for your emotions. They're not meant to be there to listen to you and reassure you or validate you. At least not until they become fully grown adults and they're leading their own life. And third, reassure your children that whatever you're going through isn't their fault, whether it's a financial hardship or an emotional hardship. The last point is to look at yourself and say, what am I experiencing in life? Am I angry and bitter at my ex? Am I going through some other pain? Am I feeling sad or guilty or lonely or bitter or resentful? Become aware of all of those insecurities and all of those negative emotions, because that's what you're going to pass on to your child. That's what I mean when I say protecting your children from you. Protect them from your insecurities, your fears, your self-doubts. Protect them from your negative emotions. Don't project the anger, the frustration, the resentment or bitterness onto your child, whether it's a boy or a girl. And remember always that your son and daughter is exactly that. He's a little boy. He's not the man of the house. Your daughter is a little daughter. She's a little girl. She's not meant to take the place of mum. If you keep that in mind, and you always remember that you have your identity and your child has his or her identity, and you keep the lines of communication open, and you admit your mistakes and you show your vulnerability, but you don't dump on your child, then you can help her to realize her full potential. So, in conclusion, when we say protecting your child from you, keep your negative emotions and your pain away from your child. Show your loved child, show them kindness and compassion. Become a good role model, both behaviour and attitude. And from Patrick Wanis, I say thank you.